Kaoru leisurely strolled in the direction the boy had run off in. Getting pickpocketed meant the perpetrator would take the cash out of the wallet once they were safe, then ditch the wallet itself. Even if there were people who wrote their name on it beforehand, no one would ever write it on their money. There wouldn't be any evidence left of the crime. That was why Kaoru had set up her fake wallet with something that happened almost instantly. Auuuggghhhhh. There it is. Kaoru followed the scream, finding herself face to face with a young boy clutching his right hand in agony. It was the same street urchin who'd bumped into her earlier. The boy's right hand had swollen, taking on a ghastly shade of purple. It looked like the pain was as bad as it looked, which is what she expected, since she'd made the potion to do just that. Tears welled up in the boy's eyes as soon as he saw Kaoru, pleading with her to help him. "Oh, fine." Kaoru took a potion from her pocket and handed it to the boy, telling him to drink it. His hands shook as he downed the medicine, and the pain and swelling from his right hand were fixed almost immediately. She'd actually made it so the symptoms of her trap would disappear on their own after a few hours had passed, just in case the culprit managed to elude her. They'd have to suffer through the pain until that happened, though. Even if someone stole from her, it wasn't like she wanted to cause them any real harm. At most, Kaoru wanted to traumatize them a little with the experience. Stealing from a god, are we? You must not care much for your life, boy. Her? Gee, God? You won't be getting off with just this when I bring down my next divine punishment, Kaoru said with a grin on her face. The boy threw himself to the ground and prostrated before the girl as she placed her hands on her hips triumphantly. It was a very strange scene, the fiendish look in Kaoru's eyes just making it seem all the more suspicious. If she just stepped on the boy's head now, then... Wait, why did it turn out like this? I'd ask you what you're doing stealing, but I think I already know the answer. It has to be so he can get himself something to eat. Actually, Belle hasn't been doing so good. Oh, someone's sick. That changes things. Led me there. Her? The boy had no choice but to comply, leading me to a run-down house in the slums with crumbling walls and a dilapidated roof. Living inside this ramshackle home was an assortment of 7 boys and girls. I guessed they wouldn't really be street urchins if they actually had a place to live. When I asked who was sick here, they all raised their hands. Got it, so that's how it is. Everyone, line up. All the kids looked especially confused when I said that, so I had the boy who tried to pickpocket me earlier line them up for me since he seemed to be the oldest one of the group. Being 11 or 12 may be considered young here, but since I looked like around 15 or 16 tops, there shouldn't have been any problems with me putting him to work. Alright, everyone come take turns getting one. I handed out an assortment of potions to cure various injuries and diseases. Alright, and here's another one. Next, I whipped up a potion to restore their deteriorated muscles and organs, and even improved their health as well. It looked like they were all suffering from a variety of different afflictions. And I thought it may be a bit overboard trying to squeeze too many effects into one potion, which was why I'd split them up into 2 instead. My leg doesn't hurt. I feel so light now. My chest doesn't hurt anymore. The children let out cries of surprise one after the other. What to do, what to do? At this rate, they'd just end up right back where they started. This was only a way to stave off the inevitable. But would some girl working as a housekeeper be able to look after all these kids? Should I have just ignored them in the first place since it had nothing to do with me? I thought not. I wouldn't have come here in the first place if I was going to do that. I'd already said it myself, and I quote, I wanted to have a bit more freedom with how I lived my life. I would play it safe and make a plan for myself, then it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to be proactive and get me some self-protection. It'd be nice if I could help people out with my potions somehow as well. It was about time to do just that. Kaoru Nagase was the type of girl who avoided danger and always chose the safe way in life. Though I did end up dead in some freak accident. So did that mean I was just going to repeat that same lifestyle again here? Was I just going to live life protecting my close friends and family even after I'd gotten these powers from the goddess? Should I not get involved with other people? That would be way too boring. The old Kaoru Nagase was dead. I was a brand new Kaoru, given a fresh start in life here. I wasn't the same Kaoru Nagase from Japan, but just Kaoru, a girl free to live her life the way she wanted in this world and with permission from the goddess who watched over this world even. Listen up, kids, I declared, placing both hands on my hips and sticking my chest out. I'm Kaoru, a friend of the goddess Celestine. She has given me free rein to do as I see fit and enjoy life in this world as a normal human. Nothing I said was a lie so far, but the kids didn't really seem to get what I was talking about. Basically, she told me I can do whatever I want. Nod, nod. That's why I want to offer some blessings to those who are pure of heart just like I did with you all. The children finally came to realize, tears in their eyes, that it was a miracle all their ailments had been cured. Even though their fellow humans had abandoned them and treated them like nothing more than garbage, they'd received the blessing of the goddess. However, trying to find those deserving of these blessings without being discovered by ones who'd want to take advantage of them is quite a task, considering I've taken on the form of a human myself. That's where you all come in. How about becoming my assistants to help me out? As a reward, I'll keep you healthy while bestowing you with all sorts of food. The 7 children all threw themselves down at my feet, and that was how I gained 7 new members of my own personal defense force. After Kaoru had made sure to tell the children to keep this a secret. If someone appeared who wished to use the powers of the goddess for less than wholesome motives, then divine punishment would befall the world, and Kaoru would have to return to the heavens. Even if the kids tried to sell her out for money, a truly evil person wouldn't just pay for the information. They'd kill the children so they'd be the only ones who knew. Though Kaoru would cure them and give the children enough food to get by, she claimed that just providing them with everything wouldn't make them successful people. She made sure to let them know they'd have to work to earn anything else than that for themselves. The children had no reason to doubt her words, especially after having experienced her miracles with their own bodies. They turned away from crime, looking for work, running errands or other odd jobs to improve their quality of life. On top of that, they went around searching for rumors about pure-hearted souls suffering from injury or sickness, and served as the personal bodyguards to the goddess who'd come to the world as a human. Kaoru had prepared herself a cloak and mask to hide her true identity. Though she was under the impression it looked pretty cool, it was a little much. Like enough to make a child cry if they ran into her in the middle of the night. That was how Kaoru began working her miracles in secret. She used the information the children brought her to help those who needed it, one person at a time. There was a rumor slowly spreading among certain people who lived in the capital. Those who were righteous and pure of heart would receive the blessings of the goddess. You could never let anyone whose hearts were tainted by greed know of her existence, and you mustn't betray the goddess. The eyes of the goddess saw everything. Back at the headquarters for the secret organization, the eyes of the goddess. In reality, it was just a busted-up house, the same one the 7 kids were living in. You think we stop with such a name? Never. They turned me down, even though I was supposed to be the goddess here. Today I was extra lazy, very efficient, preparing meals for the workshop, so I thought I'd stretch my legs and head over to the slums to make dinner for the kids. They were always cooking for themselves using a pot that had definitely seen better days, and the food they made was... I shouldn't sugarcoat it, it wasn't good. That's why I thought it was nice to do this every once in a while. After dinner had wrapped up, they gave me their report. I'd already told the children how I was enjoying my life here, and they could just speak with me normally as long as they kept my secret. Basically, they could just think of me as a nice girl who would cook for them every so often. So that merchant's daughter is sick then. But they must be pretty rich, right? There are some things you can't fix with money. Besides, they're a really good person, insisted Emil, the leader of the ragtag group of kids, the one who'd tried pickpocketing me. Anyway, he made a good point. This guy is always down here in the poor district offering food for everyone, but he always says the same thing. I'm nothing but a hypocrite. I only enjoy the self-satisfaction I get from this sort of charity work. I could get used to this feeling of superiority. Oof. They sound like a good person, I think. It was the dark of the night when I'd knocked on the back door of a certain merchant's house. "Who is it?" a woman's voice answered in response. "A thief put him up." "No, but seriously, it's the pharmacist." "Ah. Please come inside." It'd be impossible for an amateur like me to try sneaking my way into a big-name merchant's house, so I made sure they knew I was coming. That said, all I did was give some spare change to some random kid to deliver a letter to them beforehand. There was pretty much nothing more suspicious than that. But the doting parents of their sick daughter were grasping at straws looking for solutions, and I was supposed to be coming alone. Even if they were on high alert and had a guard or someone here, I figured they'd at least let me inside. If they knew their visitor was a child, I thought that'd make them a little less on guard, or it could have made them even more suspicious. I had a backup plan in case they tried to catch me, of course. I'd already made an extra strong batch of tear gas which would cause a good deal of confusion and chaos to take over me. Since they didn't have any way of knowing what it was, they'd probably think a demon had suddenly appeared to wreak havoc or something. I'd drink something to neutralize the effects of the gas, then change my clothes and the colors of my eyes and hair once I managed to get away. "We heard you would be coming. Right this way, if you please." The elderly servant who opened the door acted as my guide, leading me through the back garden and into the mansion before showing me inside a room. She didn't even bat an eye at the sight of a little girl wearing a sketchy mask. She was a pro, no doubt about it. I guessed I should have expected that from someone who worked for a big-name business. The daughter in question was lying down in bed inside the room, her parents and brothers sitting beside her in chairs. There were no guards to be seen. The jaws of the people inside dropped when they saw me enter the room. They were expecting the messenger of the goddess to be coming here, and they got a little girl wearing a weird mask instead. But could you really blame them for being a bit surprised? "Wait, are you who I think you are?" I blurted out in surprise when I saw who was already sitting in the room. The person in front of me was the same guy who'd given me a lift all the way to the capital. "Her? Are you, Kaoru?" Even after I'd gone out of my way to wear a mask and change the color of my eyes and hair, the merchant figured out who I was in an instant once he heard my voice. "What are you doing here?" we said in sync. "Why are you here, Kaoru?" the merchant asked, eyes wide open. "Well, you know. I was just thinking of healing your daughter's illness is all." "Wait. Does that mean you're the messenger of the goddess then?" This was a guy who really understood the value of information. He'd already heard rumors of me, even though they shouldn't have spread this far yet. "Yeah, something like that." The merchant was at a loss for words, while his wife and son could only stare blankly. "Oh, whatever. I'm taking off the dumb mask." "Wait, how come the lady who showed me inside just flinched when she saw my face?" She looked like she couldn't have cared less when she saw me all incognito with my mask and cloak. "Is it my eyes? Is the look I always have in my eyes really that bad?" "Well, I'm used to it by now, so it doesn't bother me that much." "Yeah? Have her drink this." The merchant took the small bottle I offered him with trembling hands. Taking every care in the world not to spill it, he placed the bottle to his daughter's lips and had her drink what was inside. The pained expression on her face softened with each passing second, and the color returned to her cheeks. Her breathing calmed and soon steadied itself at a stable rhythm. "Oh." The merchant, his wife, his son, and their servant all let out voices of admiration. Everyone here could see that the daughter had made a complete recovery. "But why would the goddess give her blessing to us?" the merchant asked me, his voice shaking. "Well, you really helped me out back then. That, and I know all about how you feed people down in the poor areas of town." He'd been giving blessings in his own way to the downtrodden and unfortunate till now, but even the rich and those in power needed help sometimes. Some of them were even good people too. I was wary of those with power since I could only imagine them trying to use me for their less than wholesome motives. Still, I'd need to make myself some friends in high places if I wanted to have someone who had my back here. Thinking as much, it might be about time to go about looking for someone just like that. The merchant, Johanna Beely, had broken down in tears. Everything he'd done until now had come back to him as a way to save his daughter. Even though there were times he'd talked against the goddess, she'd still understood all the same. His faith and conviction had saved his daughter. Thank you for everything, dear angel. Oh, no, please. You can just call me Kaoru, like you did before. But, I see. Yes, I suppose that would be for the best. That's a smart businessman for you. He caught on quick. So, what shall we do about the offering? It was true, I was accepting offerings from everyone I'd healed so far. Though, it wasn't like I wanted to take money from people who didn't have much to begin with, just their gratitude. It could be anything from a single radish they had in their kitchen, to a wooden good luck charm that their kid had made. One mother and child really didn't have anything to their name. So I ended up patting and rubbing up against the little girl in question as payment. Calling it healing for the soul, I ended up leaving them about 20 silver coins at the end of that particular trip. This was also a form of preparation on my part for if I ever ended up doing as such for a noble or some other wealthy person. I'd been doing this free of charge all this time, and it'd be pretty lame on my part to suddenly ask for a mound of cash for my services. That was why I decided to have people give me whatever they could that was within their means. What should we do? Oh, I know. This may have been really good timing actually. There was something he could get me that I thought I'd be needing soon enough. Do you think I could get some new clothes? More specifically, I'd like an outfit I could wear to fit in with other nobles. My old hand-me-downs I'd taken from the Baron's daughter were beginning to get a little worse for the wear, I'd say. Ha ha. I'll devote the efforts of the entire Johanna Beely Trade Company into doing it. No, you don't have to go that far. I ended up having my measurements taken by the servant after being moved to another room. I'm counting on you, Mary. Yes, sir. Even if it costs my life. Come on, guys, I just said you don't have to go that far. Afterward, the merchant went back to the way he talked with me back when he'd given me a ride on his cart, thank goodness. I guess I should get to remembering his name. Let's see. Johann, I think it was. Chapter 7. An Angel. It had been 2 weeks since I visited Johann. Ashley had been acting weird ever since this morning, stealing glances at me before quickly looking away and breathing heavy sighs. Hold up. Has he finally fallen for my womanly charms? And no, that wasn't just me overthinking things. In fact, how couldn't I think that? You'd have to be blind not to notice how suspicious he was acting. Everyone at the workshop kept praising my cooking, and I understood why they lived the messy lifestyles they did. I was interested in what they were researching, so I'd often glance over their shoulders while they worked, and sometimes even asked questions. I didn't try and scold or be hard on them like other girls would probably do. I was probably the ideal wife for broke researchers like them, as long as they could get past the fact that I was flat as a board and the look in my eyes could make children cry inside. Even if they thought I looked to be around 12, it would only take around 3 more years until I came into my own as a woman. I didn't expect I'd even get a centimeter taller than I was now, but I was at least counting on my chest to fill out a tiny bit more. Until then, I'd just keep helping out with whatever they needed as their fiancé. That said, my physical body was 15 years old. I thought it may be a little too early to actually start looking for a spouse now. I wanted to travel around this world and enjoy seeing what it had to offer. Marriage could come after that. Though Ashley was an aristocrat, there was almost no chance he was going to be inheriting any sort of title. People like him would usually aim to be a knight or a diplomat or something, but not Ashley. I really had thought he was a good guy, but I just didn't know if he was husband material. When I thought about spending the rest of my life with him, it was like, well, it didn't sound bad carving out our own happy niche in the world, setting up our own little workshop and having a bunch of kids, but there was still so much I wanted to do. Hey, Kaoru. You got a second? Why yes. It's happening. There's actually something I wanted to ask you. Yes? Ashley paused, thinking over his next words. Kaoru. Would you be my fiancé? I knew it. Behind us, Elbin and Brian dropped the tools they were holding. Wait, you guys too? Am I finally at that point in my life where I'm popular with all the boys? F for just a day. Oh, a freaking course. And so, I asked for an explanation and an apology. Of course I was going to have him apologize on getting my hopes up, then crushing them all in one fell swoop. It wasn't like I was expecting anything to happen though. I was totally planning on turning him down. I was just a bit disappointed, that was all. According to what Ashley had to say, in 10 days there was going to be a birthday party for Cedric, who was the oldest brother and also the successor to the family name. However, this wasn't just a party, but a chance for Cedric to find a potential spouse as well. He apparently had himself a fiancée ever since he was a child, but she'd passed away due to illness 2 years ago. He'd finally managed to get over that sadness and was ready to start looking again. Thanks to the sudden boom in girls trying to marry lower-class aristocrats that was sweeping the neighboring country. This party was supposed to be packed full of the daughters of aristocrats, affluent merchants, and even the third and fourth daughters from the families of earls and marquis. Why is that even a trend in the first place though? Anyway, Ashley's dad was thinking this might be Ashley's lucky break to find a third daughter of some baron to get engaged to. Or maybe even the daughter of a merchant, which was why his father was being pretty strict about making sure he came to the party. The second oldest son had already found a fiancée too. Ashley wouldn't look half bad if he cleaned up and wore some fancier clothes after all. And that wasn't mentioning the huge implications it would have for any merchant's daughter coming from a commoner background being able to marry into aristocracy through him. His parents had let him do what he wanted till now, but it seemed like they were beginning to get worried, hence the fact that he couldn't go against them and turn down showing up for the party. Ashley was still having a blast with his research, according to the man himself, and wasn't even thinking of marriage yet. He knew he wouldn't be able to keep up his current research if he suddenly tied the knot with someone, which was where I came in apparently. You only have to pretend to be my fiancé at the party, please. That way I can get past this somehow. You kidding me? I'm just a commoner though. And I'm not much different being the third son of a lower-class aristocrat. My parents wouldn't have anything to complain about if I brought you, Kaoru. PSSSH. Please, I'm begging you. I won't complain even if this all goes horribly wrong. Just think of it as helping a guy out. He kept on begging and eventually I gave in. I did turn down his offer to get me a dress though, and told him I had an idea of where I could find one. Ashley seemed a bit doubtful but was convinced after I swore to the goddess herself that I wouldn't stand him up. I also made sure to add a condition of my own. I wanted him to treat me as a girl he was trying to get close with rather than his actual fiancée. If word spread that I was engaged to someone, it could affect me down the line when I actually began looking into snagging someone to marry myself. I didn't want to be known as the girl who broke off an engagement because of something like this. That was super important to me, so there was no way I'd back down on that. Ashley looked a little bummed out when I said as such but said he understood. All that was left now was for him to have his family get my invitation ready. This just may have been that chance I'd been waiting for. Alright, I'm gonna get out there and make my move. I asked Ashley to give me the rundown on pretty much everything I could think of. The party we were going to, the Lyonard household, which was the family he belonged to, his brother Cedric, his servants, any encounters he'd had with viscounts, the whole shebang. The first ingredient to any good strategy was information after all.